Welcome to the Blindside Show, Insight Through Sound. You are listening to Series 1, Episode 29, an interview with Marc Lyall, Senior Guide Dog Mobility Instructor, Guide Dogs Queensland. I am DN Geared, here to guide you through the realms of assistive technology. This show is broadcast with pride from Reading Radio Brisbane. Should you wish to share feedback or inquiries, please dial 3831 1296. Your voice matters to us, so please reach out. Championing an enriched life demands unwavering passion, so dream limitlessly, trust your inner strength, and pursue excellence. Or as we like to say, dream it, believe it, and achieve it. Marc, welcome again.
Thanks, Dan. Good to be back.
We've been looking forward to your next episode. We're so excited about what you had presented last time. The first question I have for you on this episode, Marc, is how do I ensure my guide dog safety in various environments?
Dan, this is a great question because it really is a team effort. By that I mean it's the client's responsibility to maintain the dog in a healthy state, to work safely by feeding, grooming, toileting and resting the dog when required, as well as positively reinforcing all the training of the guide dog's work to guide the client safely. It's the guide dog's responsibility to guide the client safely to avoid obstacles in the path, stop at curbs, ignore environmental distractions, and locate destinations on request.
What should I consider when it comes to the daily care of my guide dog?
As discussed previously, responsibilities like feeding with access to clean water, grooming, toileting, and allowing the dog periods of rest and play are important parts of the daily routine. Medicating the guide dog regularly for flea, tick and heartworm prevention, as well as regularly preventative vaccinations and veterinary health checkups twice yearly, and monitoring the weight and general health of your guide dog are all important parts of caring appropriately for the dog.
And how often should I exercise and socialise with my guide dog?
Look, then we suggest as a guide that a handler should be working their guide dog a minimum of 2 to 3 kilometres a day, 4 to 5 days a week. While some handlers complete a little less with their guide dogs than this, some also complete a lot more work than this each week. Play and exercise either in the client's own backyard or a neighbour's yard, a council dog free run with support from someone sighted are all important means of maintaining a dog's health and well-being and offering a good balance to the important work they do as a guide.
What do I need to know about feeding or grooming my guide dog?
During the guide dog client training program, again, there are many theory and practice sessions which provide knowledge and practice opportunities for the client in feeding and grooming their guide dog.
And is there any particular food that you recommend, or is it just dry or wet?
We generally recommend a high quality food and regular grooming, of course, and health checking on a daily basis.
Okay, that's great. And how can I help my guide dog adapt to different weather conditions?
So guide dogs are trained in all types of weather conditions during their training to accustom them to working in different weather. The exceptions to this would be the same exceptions for anyone considering walking outdoors. For example, not going out in a major storm with thunder, lightning or hail, or walking in temperatures over 34 degrees when heat stroke is possible for the dog and ourselves, and hot metal covers on roads and footpaths and bitumen may cause burns and injuries to a dog's pads. These processes are reinforced and continued when a client returns home and training with their guide dog.
Marc, that's so interesting. I find this is a very, very important topic because the things that concern me are heat exhaustion, and that can be catastrophic for a dog. You may not be able to get the dog to the vet in time to save their life. That's how serious it is in my understanding, correct?
Certainly.
So could you expand on this? I actually use a technique of using my hand to determine whether it's too hot for the pads or not. If I can stand it, or if it's on the upper limits, then I don't take my dog. And sometimes if it's in a situation you can't get out of, you can possibly walk them on the grass, and I have done that a couple of times, rather than risk their pads. So could you please maybe reinforce what I'm doing is correct, or give you a perspective on the right approach?
Yes, certainly, Dan. I think it is an important question too. As an organisation, Guide Dogs Queensland has a policy of not training their dogs in conditions, 34 degrees or around that outdoors. We certainly then do alternative options by taking them into shopping centres and doing other training where it's air conditioned. But there are dog boots or shoes for dogs for people who do have to work them in warmer conditions in our climate. But I think also options of where it's possible, alternatives such as taking, say, a taxi or an Uber or public transport to minimise that time working on bitumen. As you said before, using the back of your hand perhaps just to touch the ground to check the heat yourself. And also remembering bitumen, while it can get very hot, if you can put your hand down and leave it on a hot plate on the ground, one of those metal covers, if you can leave it there, that's fine. If you can't, well, your dog's pad really shouldn't be going there either. So thinking of the dog, thinking of your own health too, maybe thinking about alternatives, the time of your journey and the method of travel of your journey.
Yeah, that's a really good point. What steps should I take if my guide dog encounters an obstacle or hazard, Mark?
So guide dogs are trained to avoid and negotiate obstacles and hazards safely. In cases where a path is blocked unexpectedly or a hazard exists, then the client may receive assistance from workers or members of the public in the area. If there's no one around and the guide dog is having difficulty negotiating a difficult hazard around a complex obstacle, then the handler can drop their harness handle, take their lead and use their long cane to explore the situation to seek a safer alternative, which is another reason why orientation mobility skills are so important, dear.
And another reason why they should always carry a cane, even in their bag, just in case.
Yes,
It's
absolutely.
a great exit strategy, isn't it?
Yep.
Is there a specific etiquette I should follow when using a guide dog in public, Mark?
Yes, clients with their guide dogs are provided legal public access rights throughout Queensland and all states of Australia via the Disability Discrimination Acts in each state, as well as the Federal Government Disability Discrimination Act. Queensland also has the Guide, Hearing and Assistance Dog Act, which protects the access rights of people with various disabilities who work assistance dogs in public places and on public transport. Public access for handlers of guide dogs is maintained and supported by the dog being quiet, clean and well behaved and under the control of the handler when in public, and for performing the specific behaviours for which they've been trained to alleviate some of the difficulties of travelling safely in public by people with blindness and low vision.
How do I travel with a guide dog on the plane, train, bus or even a car?
Okay, during their training program, guide dog handlers have been trained to travel on regular public transport, trains, buses, taxis, trams and even ferries. For air travel, a client may be accompanied by an instructor for their first flight home after training and general advice on how to travel on a plane with a guide dog. It's also important to be aware of different airline rules for the transportation of guide dog handlers and their guide dogs. We believe it is best to plan in advance by contacting the airline, and a guide dog client intends to travel and seeking all relevant information required prior to booking and then travelling to the airport. Some of the airlines even have a meet at the curb service at the airport itself, from curb to gate lounge and then onto the plane. So it's important to research these things and inquire. Things like taking a mat for your guide dog, maybe a few pieces of kibble for the dog to swallow on takeoff and landing, just to equalise pressure.
Oh, yes. I never thought about that.
All these sorts of things come in handy too.
Actually, I flew down to Tasmania with Shadow, my guide dog, and they were just fantastic. And the really good thing now is that most of the domestic stations, airports have toilet facilities.
Yes,
and that's just great because to go downstairs, toilet between transits is just a nightmare and you miss your plane.
Absolutely.
So it's a fantastic facility and it's so easy to use. I've used it a number of times and they're so helpful. And they provided a mat for me as well for the dog before we sat down. So they're very, and they're very attentive. I managed to get an extra couple of drinks out of it. So that was all right.
That's great.
Might produce some Paul, which loves that. So the next one is, what legal rights and protections do guide dog handlers have in public spaces?
Part of the answer I gave previously regarding using a guide dog in public comes in there. A guide dog handler and guide dog can go to any public place they wish, except in Queensland into the back of ambulances, food preparation areas in restaurants and hospitals, labour wards, animal quarantine areas. For example, like the Tigers area at Dreamworld is a special quarantine area. There are also several places we strongly recommend a guide dog should not be taken for animal welfare reasons. For example, a very noisy, crowded nightclub.
How do you handle situations where people approach or want to interact with your guide dog?
It's unfortunately a common issue, Jen, as you would know. We request that clients avoid allowing members of the public to approach, pat or cuddle their guide dogs when they're working, because this puts the client and their guide dog in danger by distracting the dog from its work and the client from concentrating on what they're doing. If a client chooses to allow a member of the public to touch their guide dog, we ask the client to stop their guide dog first, remove the dog's working harness, and then monitor the dog's behaviour so that it doesn't become too excited. It's important that members of the public do not try to attract a guide dog's attention by calling or feeding it when the dog is guiding their handler, because this may affect the team's safety.
What should I do if my guide dog becomes distracted during a walk or task?
So guide dogs and guide dog clients are taught various techniques and skills during their training course to manage distraction from their guide dog when working. So the guide dogs are also trained to respond positively to various vocal and handling techniques and commands which redirect the dog's attention back to their work and to the handler.
And how do I recognise signs of stress or health issues in my guide dog?
This is an important question for people who are obviously legally blind or totally blind. The guide dog will display various body language and auditory symptoms of stress, which the handler has been trained to be aware of during guide dog training courses. For the health issues, it's important for the client to monitor their guide dog's health by daily health checks every day when they're grooming their dogs. Clients learn to recognise what is normal behaviour for their dog and then notice any abnormal patterns of behaviour in the dog and take the guide dog for a minimum of 2 veterinary health checks each year. If there's any doubt about a dog's health, it's also important for a family member or friend to observe the dog and then the client to take the dog to their chosen vet or an emergency vet if there's any significant concern regarding the dog's health.
Okay. Pretty important aspect, because there's a long duration of time to have that your buddy next to you looking after you. You want him to live a long, happy life.
We all do, that's for sure.
What resources and support are available to guide dog handlers after the training?
Okay, so although different organisations provide differing levels of support for clients, Guide Dogs Queensland provides ongoing lifetime support for the working life of our guide dogs. This may take the form of several support visits within the first year of a new guide dog team's relationship, when most of the settling in issues may arise, and then usually annual safety check visits thereafter until the dog is 8 years of age, when we like to monitor the guide dog's health and working safety performance related to potential age-related changes. We also provide orientation to new travel routes when a client moves home and or their workplace, and refresher training programs or short courses when a guide dog team requires support with aspects of their work together. Our organisation usually receives excellent support and sponsorship from commercial organisations which provide vital medications and treatments for our clients' guide dogs and our colony of dogs. For example, pathology testing, flea and tick and intestinal worming products and dog food.
Mark, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. I know that there's more to talk about, and we're hoping that you'll come back and see us again next year, maybe to talk about a little bit more about guide dogs and what the value is to the vision impairment community.
I'd love to. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Pleasure. Your expertise and insights into the world of guide dogs has been invaluable, and I'm sure our listeners have gained a wealth of knowledge from this discussion. Your years of experience with Guide Dogs Queensland have provided us with an in-depth understanding of what one needs to know when considering a guide dog. On behalf of all our listeners, Reading Radio and myself, I want to extend our deepest gratitude for taking the time to share your wisdom with us. And of course, thanks to Guide Dogs Queensland for all that they do for the vision impaired and blind community. Thank you for your dedication to enhancing the lives of vision impaired and for your significant contributions to the field. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been speaking with Marc Lyall, a leading expert from Guide Dogs Queensland. If you'd like to learn more about their incredible work, I encourage you to visit their website for more information, queensland.guidedogs.com.au. Mark, once again, thank you for being with us today. Thank you for listening to Blindside Show at Reading Radio Brisbane. My name is Dean Geard. This episode was recorded at Reading Radio Brisbane. For all queries, please phone 3831 1296 and leave a message. Your quality of life is worth fighting for. Championing and enriching life demands unwavering passion. Dream limitlessly, trust in your strength, and pursue excellence. Or as I like to say, dream it, believe it, and achieve it. See you next time.